and you're moving on, and all of a sudden you look down and you're doing 93. It's like,
I think that's what
no. That's not how this works.
I think I've hit that.
I've been
never
up,
over
I've been up in
100,
the 90s. But,
Nope, never hit
but
the
always,
3.
but always on a highway with a lot of space and no one in
Right,
front or
that's what I
behind
mean.
me, so you had a lot of room.
it's almost accidental.
And say, okay, let's.
What's
time
scary
to
is that
slow down
particular
now.
road is
Lake?
my
Yeah.
parents have a lake house up near there, and I have to say I've walked and run on that road many times. A lot of people do. It's
Really?
a very
Is
popular
it
spot.
wide enough
So then
to be
you
out running and walking?
well, it's another one of those roads that doesn't have. I feel like this is my biggest issue since I have a teenage driver. But so many roads do not have a striped line in the middle.
All right.
So it's like you could say to me, "How is the road wide enough?" It looks wide enough, right? But
Yeah.
you don't really know because there's no line in the middle. So even when cars are going back and forth past each other,
Which means there's
It's
no
just
lines on
enough
the side
space.
either, so there's no
Right.
real breakdown space. Or
there's no.
No.
So if you're
So-
walking, it's rural
hope-
road in Barville. You're walking, and someone going 104 miles an hour on the road seems absolutely impossible to me, and
Even-
very concerning.
On that road.
On that road.
Okay. Doesn't say anything about alcohol or any other kind of drugs being involved in this either. But he is facing multiple charges. But it all could just be connected to just driving fast and driving recklessly and anything else they can come up with on that. I'm sure they. I'm
Yeah,
sure
so
they
a
gave him a
contributor.
breathalyzer test at some point. After he went to the hospital. So, okay, so that's what's going on there in Burville. The other crazy story that seems to be going on is this. What in the world is going on in Pawtucket with the firefighters?
I just heard
that
the
is just-
tail end of it.
Four of them have quit or retired, and the other four have been fired. So there's 8 firefighters involved. They talk about criminal activity, but they can't tell you what they actually have done.
And as I told you before the show, in
And
the
we-
green
we
room.
might not.
Oh, yeah, this is the green room.
Yes.
As I told you before the show, because it's a personnel matter,
Yeah.
unless there are criminal charges filed, you will never know.
Well, they're talking about engaging.
Except through the rumor mill.
Right. Now, they talk about the 8 firefighters have been engaged in possible criminal activity, resulting in violations of the public trust. Now, the firefighters, or the city came out yesterday and said, in no way was the public ever in danger. They responded to emergencies, the fires and EMS, and everything was fine there.
Okay.
Just makes you wonder what in the world was going on.
Well, my
With the
thought,
firefighters. Poor
judgment.
My thought that there may be some criminal charge filed simply comes from the fact that when they went for their hearing, their attorneys specifically instructed them to say nothing. Which means they were effectively doing a Fifth Amendment plea, though they're not. That's not what they do in a personnel hearing, but it's the equivalent of it. So they may be in the same position if there are criminal charges. I'm just saying, I think they were told to say nothing because of the risk that there's criminal charges involved. And they don't want them to incriminate themselves by answering any questions or challenging the charge.
So if criminal charges are brought forward,
Then we'll learn.
We will know
Yes.
what they're at least been alleged.
Yes.
Okay.
Otherwise, you will know nothing.
I would love
Frustrating as that is.
It's 2 things. I want to know what the criminal activity was. I also want to know who the 8 firefighters that retired or quit.
So
I'd
wasn't
love to
there
know
a
who they
story
are.
years ago, and I don't know if it was in Johnston, where there was a whole bunch of like firefighters that were on medical leave, and then there was an investigation done, and it turned out that like they were going to the gym and they were doing all these things, and
There was
They were-
there was a
Sounds like an
Cranston
insurance
or maybe it was
firefighter, I think,
Cranston.
that
Maybe it was
was
Cranston.
that was on disability.
But they had found a few.
And he was
few
going
people.
to the gym and lifting weights and doing all the things you would expect
like
you
you're
to
fine.
do.
So this wouldn't be on that level, right? Because that would be something
That's
that
not
would
really
be put out there.
That's not really criminal.
Well, I mean, depends how long they were
Well,
milking the
that-
system.
In that case, the discovery came from a TV station investigation, I
Okay.
think.
So we're thinking something more significant than just.
You hate to speculate, but you would just wonder if they're selling drugs out of the firehouse, as an example.
You're kickstarting a rumor, so here
I
we go.
am kickstarting a rumor because I have absolutely no idea
No
if
idea.
that's what they were
thing-
doing.
the
But
thing
that's
about
the,
this
that's
that
the
I-
big criminal activity I can think of right off the bat.
The thing that
Stealing
I'm
from a
confused
house.
about with the criminal activity thing is that clearly it wouldn't be just a basic civil violation, because if they use the term criminal, then there has to be a victim, and the question is, who's the victim of the crime, and why is that not some sort of putting the public at risk if other people were in a similar situation? And maybe for the fact that these guys are out of a job, that takes away the risk.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see if the Peter Owner and his Attorney General's office come up with something and issue a press release. So over the next day or two, or maybe in a week. Would love to see what is going on.
Would love to.
Well, okay, so that's what's going on there.
Well, you always have to wonder, how things get interpreted if you recollect when Peter Nerona finally issued his report after 2 years on the ILO situation. He said we couldn't charge anything because there's nothing on in the law,
to charge
the statute, that prohibits what happened. And now this year they've got a bid rigging bill in that would explicitly address that question and prevent something like ILO from happening again, because it would become criminal. So criminal is not always easy to show in the law. Of course, the governor opposes the bid rigging law. Can you imagine a governor opposing a law that would protect the public from bid rigging? Why would he do that?
I don't know.
Maybe that's why he's so unpopular.
I don't know. Well, we just had the new survey in, and his let's see. The survey says 43% approve, 43 approve, 41 disapprove, and then there's the other 16. I don't know. I got no opinion.
Kind of a higher number than I.
Well, he's right there with Donald Trump on his approval rating. So.
On the approval side.
On the approval
disapproval
side,
side, Trump's got him beat. He's up around 54%.
Oh, okay. So there we are. And the same survey has the Massachusetts governor much higher in the approval rating, up near 50. Well, 51%. I'm like, wow, okay. All right, other events going on. I'm happy to see this. It looks like justice came through. If you got to go back to September 2023 after a New England Patriots football game. I think the Patriots lost this game, but I cannot remember.
And somebody died.
And three men get into a fight.
Oh yeah.
And one of them died. Now I believe the one that died, who's from New Hampshire, I thought he was in his 50s. I think these other two guys from Warwick were in their 30s. And from what I read, now the charges have been dropped against the two men from Warwick, because after looking at video footage and talking with witnesses, there we go. It seems like the man that died started the fight.
I remember us talking about this at the time. Yep.
And one of the men from Warwick was trying to break it up, and they deemed that the man from New Hampshire had a heart condition, and that's actually what he died from, not from any of the fisticuffs. It's just the excitement of being in the fight.
Yeah.
A little too much for his heart to take.
Little stress.
And so when he was it's taken away, and so everything has been dropped against the two guys from Warwick. So good. Justice prevails in that situation.
Boom.
Because you hate to see the two younger guys beating up the older guys.
They're not responsible if the guy's heart condition caused it and he started the fight.
Well, and he's starting it, according to the Norfolk District Attorney's Office.
Isn't it crazy? We're sitting here 2 years later.
It's to figure this out.
That's
how backed up the courts are.
I
how
know.
long this takes.
I mean,
unless they ask for continuation and this, that, and the other thing, and we want to talk to other people.
Well, don't you think they
we gotta
determined
get
it was
video.
natural causes or a heart-related condition at the time, like within weeks
a week.
of? So
you would think so.
Well, I would think there would have been an autopsy, and they would have known almost immediately.
Yeah. So why did it take this long? I don't know.
That's a waste of everyone's time.
You gotta talk to lawyers about that and just get it all set up. So, okay, but it just goes to show you when
justice delayed is justice denied.
I thought it was justice served, isn't that?
No. It takes 2 years because you have to look at how much did those guys spend on lawyers. How else did it affect
at least $1,000?
How else did it affect their life, their health?
Makes you wonder how often. Well, you got to go to court for today. Why? Because you're being arraigned.
It's got to be thousands in legal bills.
Oh, sure.
Over something they didn't do.
And
Right.
they didn't start.
Yeah.
And it took 2 years.
2 years of stress and worry and all things and
So
judgment from other people. And
Do you start a civil suit then against the guy's family?
I guess so.
No, you walk away.
As Joe Biden used to say, "Come on, man."
But it just goes to show you, if you're going to go, especially a Patriots game, football fans are different than others. When you're walking out, keep your smart remarks to yourself.
You do, especially if you're
Don't say anything
Rooting
about
for the opposing team.
especially if you're there rooting for the opposing team. Don't say anything.
Yep.
Don't say anything about.
And don't go
How
to
much-
Philadelphia. They'll kill you right in the stadium.
You're never
Don't-
get out.
Especially if the Patriots lose. Don't say how much the Patriots really inhale. You know, you don't say stuff like that because someone's gonna get mad and start smacking you amongst the head. And so you really have to be careful.
You do.
At football games because you know the game's at 1. Usually the game's at 1. Drinking starts at 9 and continues. Game's over a little up around 4:30. So drinking continues until about 4:30.
Yep.
And a good time will be had by all.
All right, time for our first break here on the Coffee and program. So we switch things back over to Melissa Smith from the St. Antoine Communities. Please go ahead, Melissa.
So before you make plans to come by and see me on Saturday at the Woonsocket Radio Health Fair, I think it's the Senior Resource Health Fair you're calling it. Make plans this Thursday, which is tomorrow, to swing by the Crown Plaza for the Caregiver Journey Conference. It's actually an Alzheimer's Association funded event. I will be there as well. Been participating for a very long time in this event as a vendor, and it's just an incredibly valuable service that is free for attendees to have one-stop shopping and get a good understanding of the progression of the illness if you have a loved one who has been recently diagnosed, even to connect with other caregivers and kind of learn about their journey. There's guest speakers. There's a bazillion resource tables. It's just a wonderful event, and I will be there tomorrow. I believe it starts at 8:30 for guests. Wraps up around 4. I will be there at 6:30 setting up my table. So bear with me if I haven't had enough coffee by the time you arrive at 8:30. But yeah, it's a wonderful event, and I always like to showcase it when I'm here on the air to make sure that folks that weren't aware of it are aware of it. So spread the word and swing by tomorrow at the Crown Plaza if you are able.
In beautiful downtown Warwick.
In beautiful downtown Warwick.
Is there a downtown Warwick?
Well, there's Route 2, right?
There's a lot of neighborhoods that are spread out.
True.
I've never been to. I've been to Warwick City Hall, but it doesn't feel like you're
Downtown.
downtown.
All right, break time on Coffee and more coming up. Comments and questions can be called in at 766-1240.
Hi, this is Steve Peluso, owner of Peluso Precision Automotive in Mendon. Since 2017, Peluso Precision Automotive has been your destination for auto care, transmissions, and general classic car repair. I've had a passion for classic cars since I was born, and I started hanging around a gas station when I was 7 years old. Plus, I have more than 40 years of experience repairing the classics. So if you have a 53 Bel Air, or a 67 Mustang, or a 71 Dodge, and it needs servicing, bring it to Peluso Precision Automotive, 93 Blackstone Street in Mendon. Peluso Precision Automotive is your vintage car specialist, so give us a call at 508-478-8900. And remember the number, it's 508-478-8900.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting great candidates? Well, they're not hard to find when you go to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. People who are actively looking for jobs like yours. So it's easy to find the right person fast. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Febreze. As a rideshare driver, I love keeping my car smelling fresh and clean. So when I'm driving, I only trust Febreze car vent clips, featuring 3 distinct intensity settings, because it's that little touch that sets me apart. I can turn the intensity down for subtle freshness, or I can turn it up for when I want lots of scent. So whether it's set to low, medium, or high, with Febreze car, I know my car's going to smell amazing. Which keeps my driver rating right where it belongs. Picking up Oscar!
The Coffee and panel is enjoying coffee from Down East Coffee Roasters. All their coffee is roasted right here in Rhode Island. Down East Coffee Roasters is available at all Little General stores.
You can depend on us for public service. ON Radio.
All right, Coffee In on ON Radio. Thanks for joining us this morning. I'm Joe Callahan here with Melissa Smith and John Ward. And a nice thing going on over at CCRI in Lincoln on Friday, April 25th. There are dental hygiene students over at CCRI, and so they need to work. They need the practicum. So they're offering dental sealant and fluoride treatments on kids ages 6 to 17, and it'll be free. if you bring your child over there, 6 to 17, from 9 a.m. until noon on Friday, April 25th. So, just so that you know, the CCR students will be under professional supervision. We're just not going to set them free. All right, give it a shot. See if you come up okay. And while applying the treatments, appointments are required for the event. So, that's nice.
Cool.
I know Dr. Dodge over here in Park Square used to put together a thing over at CCRI.
Yeah.
Free treatment for anybody that showed up.
Yeah.
I don't want to speak ill of the former president of CCRI who nixed that whole program and screwed things up, but I guess they're doing something anyway.
Well, and this is just for the...
well, no, they used to do a lot more free dental work on that
Over there?
day that
Yeah.
they would work out arrangements for.
Okay.
And then that got killed. And now we're back to doing this, which is good.
Well, it's sealant and fluoride treatment, so it doesn't say it's going to clean your teeth.
No,
and
I know.
We're not doing X-rays or anything
Right.
like that. So, but it's to give the hygiene students, you got to learn how to do this stuff on somebody. So, my grandmother, who was extremely frugal, who lived in Providence, always went to the hair cutting academy.
My father-in-law would often use the term,
$6 at the time.
describing things like this. He would say, "Better than nothing."
Yeah, that's right. And they always worked on her hair, and
You gotta learn the craft somehow. You gotta practice on someone.
All right.
So-
Any thoughts? I mean, it could be just a smoke screen, and there's always been a lot of smoke screens lately. But Trump's saying, "Hey, let's send all the really bad criminals to El Salvador, to that
was
awful
cringy.
place."
That was cringeworthy.
I'm like, wow.
I am still struggling with this Maryland guy because
The president drives me crazy. Not Trump. The president of El Salvador. Oh, you could get this done. Send it back. I don't know
Well-
what the problem is. What's bothering you, John?
what's bothering me about this whole thing is one side's claiming he's an MS-13 member,
Yes.
and he's a criminal and he's
Yes.
bad.
Yes.
And that he's been through the court system. He came here illegally. He didn't report himself at all. He stayed under the radar till 2019 when he got something and he ended up in court. And he's been through the courts a couple of times. And one side saying the court gave an order that he's on some sort of deferred something or other where he's allowed to stay until they do future hearings. And then the other side saying, no, the court found him to be a member of MS-13, and Trump has declared MS-13 a terrorist organization, and therefore they're within their rights to remove him from the country and send him to El Salvador. But if you go back to the beginning when he first went into court, he was telling the courts, well, the reason I haven't said anything and I've been staying under the radar so much is because I was a member of MS-13. I escaped El Salvador because I wanted to get out of MS-13 and come here, and I'm looking for asylum so you can protect me from MS-13 so I can be under the radar. And he did nothing that would indicate that he was involved with gang activity while he was here.
Okay.
So the question is, do you believe him, or too bad for you?
Yeah.
So they pick him up, they send him back to El Salvador. Now the president of El Salvador says he was MS-13, so we're going to keep him.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that's what he's saying.
That's what he's saying.
Because all I ever heard was, it's too tough. We can't get him back. I can't get a hold of him. Like he didn't want to do it.
He could do it if he wants.
If he
He's
want,
the
that's what
president.
I thought.
But they've gone to great effort
Wow.
in El Salvador under his presidency to lock up all the MS-13 people. I don't know whether they have due process in El Salvador, but
Probably
the
not
fact
like we
is
do.
he's not willing to go in there looking for him to take him out and protect him. I'm struggling with who's on the right side of this argument and what
Yeah.
the facts really are, because there's so much of it that's vague. But then Trump takes this leap off the cliff by saying we'd like to send hardened criminals.
The real bad
Now-
guys. Yeah.
Now,
Homegrown, I think criminals. He said U.S. homegrown criminals.
U.S. citizens
Yeah.
to El Salvador. And I'm thinking, you can't do that. That's unconstitutional. That's cruel and unusual punishment, straight up. You just can't do it. But then I heard another story say he wants to do it for naturalized citizens, which means they weren't citizens but became citizens. And it's almost like he's revoking their citizenship that they acquired through the process. And it's like, okay, even that's beyond the pale. You just sorry. Now you're into dictatorship.
Well, then that goes back to my first question: is this all just a smokescreen?
Oh, I don't know.
You say, here, worry about this for a little while, and I'm going to go take care of something else.
That's what I've begun to worry about on many things.
Oh, yeah.
How many of these things are to throw up flares so so it's misdirection?
Look over here.
Yeah, look over here.
While I'm doing this over here.
My bigger concern beyond that one And the reason I'm hedging towards James Carville's belief that this is all falling apart is that his battle with China has now chosen to refuse to accept Boeing aircraft orders, and they've got about 100 planes on order that run in the billions of dollars, which is a lot of business for Boeing. That's going to come to a screeching halt. And the second one is they're going to be refusing to export rare earth minerals, which are essential to EV batteries, and that might be why Elon Musk has gone silent, where he objected to the tariffs all along because of the impact it would have on his trade in China, in and with China. So that China may actually have the upper hand in this because of their being the ones that have done most of the mining of rare earths, because they don't really care about the environment. That's why they still burn coal so much. But they've got it. We don't. We need it. They're not going to give it to us.
So, Melissa, is it a who blinks first thing as the stare down has started?
All of
between
this
U.S.
is,
and China?
Yes.
Who blinks first?
This is all very overwhelming to some. I don't get knee deep into politics. I've said that for years that I've been on the air, and the takeaway is the vibe that you have. I've had it for a long time. I get very anxious talking about any of these topics anymore because it does feel very heightened and scary. I think we're entering a very scary space, and you kind of had like a little droplet of that feeling over the last couple of years, and you tried to ignore it because we didn't have two great candidates running for office, so you sort of followed one side or the other, but no outcome was going to be great. But I just feel like we're shoveling and going deeper and deeper into lots of areas of concern, whether it's the stock market, whether it's our relations with China, whether add the list of things we just talked about, smoke and mirrors and pay attention over here while I do this over there. It's spiraling out of control, and I don't know.
Well, one of the distractions that came up in the last couple of weeks has been his imposition of tariffs and then delaying it 90 days. Okay. Now, in that time, people have done analysis of stock market activity, and sure enough, just before he announced, like hours before he announced he was delaying the tariffs, there was a huge jump in purchasing in the market among certain investments. And sure enough, then the market really jumped up. So somebody was betting he was going to delay the tariffs. Now they're investigating whether or not it was done with knowledge, with foreknowledge, which is illegal, or without. Unfortunately for us, the next president will be in office before they ever figure it out and actually charge somebody.
You're right.
What do you think, John?
I think somebody knew. Somebody leaked it out of the White House who will ultimately be fired.
Well, we won't be going anywhere.
Just like back in 2008, after 2008, when I heard about so many congressional people, one guy actually got charged, one congressman got charged out of Georgia for insider information that they used in the market. Our own Sheldon Whitehouse had protected his flank in the market, but was never charged with anything. But it was become fairly common knowledge that he was making trades in anticipation of something he knew from private congressional hearings. Nancy Pelosi's husband, because he's not the congressman, has become a multi-millionaire using the knowledge she brings to him out of Congress about companies and our international trade. And it's a fairly common practice, which, if I ever were to say I agreed with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on anything, it would simply be that she believes that congressional people should not be allowed to trade in the stock market.
I totally agree with that.
Because they have too much knowledge.
They have too much knowledge.
Yeah, way too much insider information,
But
right?
the question is, will they also prevent their family members, and to what level? Because let's face it, Joe Biden's brother was making money off the China thing, not his wife.
It'd be awful tough not to tell a family member, oh, they're going to make the wrong decision.
Or a son.
No, don't do that.
A son, or a daughter, or a husband, a wife, or a brother, or a sister. So there's a lot of links that could go into making a lot of money that could then be funneled back to you, or you could enjoy the benefit of later by using insider information. And I guarantee you it happens every day.
Oh, that's, yeah. All right. We're going to take a break here in the Coffee and program, but more is coming your way, and it's time for the weather forecast being brought to you by Positive Coaching Alliance.
More clouds than sun today with a high of 51 and a breeze from the west. Tonight, partly cloudy skies, overnight low of 35. Thursday's weather, sunshine and 57. On Friday, mostly sunny skies, high of 63. Friday night, we have mostly cloudy skies and 48. Saturday, the chance of precipitation is improving to only 30%. More clouds than sun on Saturday, but a high of 75 degrees and a light breeze from the southwest. Sunday, mostly sunny with a high of 65. Monday, mostly sunny and 64. Next Tuesday, mostly cloudy, 61.
Outside the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Ave and Kennedy Street, where we do have now mostly cloudy skies and 46 degrees. Questions about youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit organization, develops better athletes and better people through youth and high school sports. Info at positivecoach.org. Real estate transactions can be complex and confusing. If you're looking for an expert law team to help you with your real estate deal, call Zamorelli Law Office of Pawtucket. Their team of dedicated professionals is committed to navigating the complexities of the legal system to help you get the best possible outcome from your deal. Voted a Best of the Blackstone Valley Gold winner in law services, the attorneys at Zamorelli Law pride themselves on providing expert legal counsel with a personalized touch and delivering comprehensive solutions tailored to meet your unique needs. Zamorelli Law Office, your trusted partner in real estate, located at 40 Power Road in Pawtucket. Call Zamorelli Law Office at 401-722-2255. Voted gold in ON Radio's Best of the Blackstone Valley in 3 different categories: Best Furniture Store, Best Outdoor Furniture, and Best Mattress Store is Coletta's Furniture. They have a lot of new collections that have just hit the showroom floor. Come and see Coletta's Furniture 2-floor, 25,000 square foot showroom packed with great deals and brand name merchandise. Recliners, couches, dinette sets, and of course bedroom furniture with mattresses are at Coletta's Furniture, and they offer delivery, no credit needed options, and 1-year finance options. Coletta's Furniture, 598 Wood Avenue, Woonsocket. It is Coffee and time, and in this segment of Coffee and sponsored by Navigant Credit Union.
Is your relationship with your bank in a rut? Might be time for someone new. At Navigant Credit Union, we offer better rates, fewer fees, and support that puts you first. Don't put it off. Join Navigant Credit Union today. Federally insured by NCUA.
All right, it is Coffee and on ON Radio. You want a good story there, Melissa? This that
Please.
won't give you any anxiety.
A warm, fuzzy story.
Over 24 whales are in the waters off Cape Cod.
Yeah.
They've already returned.
Yay.
Believed to be endangered right whales. They were spotted in Cape Cod Bay and in the Cape Cod Canal. Channel 5 went down, took a look, and they reported that the Sandwich Harbor Master said environmental police, they're doing their best to keep boats away from the whales so the boats don't injure the whales at all, and so they can have a good time frolicking in the water. So
Good.
Nice to see that
move
they've
to
come back.
wherever it is they're going.
That's right. Because sometimes what is it? It's like great white sharks get trapped in the canal. They don't know how to get out.
Well, I was going to say,
It's weird.
Why would they go to the canal?
I don't know.
except
It's
accidentally.
Is it just the flow of the water? Now we're here, and now gee, there's no signs. we don't know how to get out of here.
But I mean, when if you're out in the Gulf Stream, or you're moving south to north, which I believe is what they're doing.
Okay.
So you're moving south to north to maybe go to breeding grounds or whatever it is, and if you're coming up the East Coast, what is it that makes you go left to go to the canal? You have to sort of turn out of the stream in order to get to the canal. It's not exactly right in front of you in your path.
I know, but good that the whales have popped back. All right, it's been wow. Seems like yesterday. It's been 12 years since the Boston Marathon bombings. 12 years.
Wow.
Okay. And where my daughter goes to school, at Bridgewater State, there's a statue of the little boy, Martin Richard. I don't know how his family was involved with Bridgewater State, but somehow he was, and so there's a statue of him on campus, and the students have fun with it. They'll put a Boston Red Sox hat on them every now and then, or a Patriots jersey or something on that. It's like their little buddy on campus right there. So Boston Marathon is coming up this coming Monday on Patriots Day. It's going to be a beautiful day. It looks like sun right now and 64 degrees. So a perfect day for running in the Boston Marathon. You ever know anybody that's run the Boston Marathon, Melissa?
No, a couple New York marathon. Nobody that I know of. And no. My former neighbor Nicole did it.
Finished?
Did not. She had some injury that she was battling at the time, but she used to work for Joanne Drewsy with the Joanne Drewsy Foundation, and so there were some folks out of that pod of staff that went and did it together. But no.
Okay.
No.
John?
Not me.
No.
Like I said, I know one person who ran the New York Marathon a couple of times. The closest I'd come to saying I know somebody who ran it didn't actually run it. When everybody would take off, he would follow behind as not a registered runner.
Oh, you can do that.
And he would run it.
Yeah.
That was Joel Matthews used to run it all the time, former planning director for the city.
And he would finish too?
He would run it and finish it. Yeah.
Okay. I had a neighbor across the street, ran it for about 5 years in a row. He just got older and said, all right, this is really hurting. I don't want to do this anymore. I've done it a few times. It's a lot of work, not only just for them, but for family members who got to be supportive, and you got to drop them off, and you got to get to Boston, you got to pick them up, and there's a gazillion people in Boston, so it's a lot of work for the family members just to try to get them.
And you don't exactly want to say, oh, by the way, when you're finished, I'll be about 2 miles away. Just jog over and get in the car.
That's right. I'll be parked in Ashland, okay?
And I don't think you're saying it's a lot of work. I don't think they can quite complain to their loved one about, this is kind of challenging for me to find a way to get to you.
Well, that's the way he explained it to me. He goes, well, it's a lot of work for my wife.
It's all about me, is what you're saying.
And even though I'm running it, she's got all the work to do, kind of thing.
Well, and
you got to get up very early. And,
you also have to
deal
with the training you got to go through if you're going to run it, because you're going to go out, you're going to be running at least 13, 15 miles a few times a week for weeks before you're doing this in order to be prepared to do it.
Yeah.
Which takes time.
Oh, yeah. I'll be back.
You're out there running an hour and a half.
Yeah. I was going to say 2. But,
or 2.
All right. I'll family, okay, bye. I'll see you in 2 hours because I'm going running.
Yeah.
The only, and I may have told this story before. My brother had a friend that always ran the Boston Marathon, and his friend came to him one year, maybe about 10 years ago, and said, I know I'm going to need help to finish the race. So I need you, my brother, jump into the race with me at 6 miles before the end to encourage me and keep me going along. So he did. And
is that's allowed to do? You can
he
jump in?
He was allowed to do it.
Yeah,
and
when I ran a half marathon, my son was going to jump in, but he just decided to sign up. So he was capable of going faster than I was, but he kept the pace for me so that I could try to keep up with him and keep a pace going through the whole thing to finish. And actually what I discovered, I don't know if they do at the marathon level, but what I discovered is by the time I got to the mark where it said 10 miles, it got really easy.
A few people
because
have
my
said,
brain switched to, I've only got a 5K left. This is nothing.
Okay.
Because by then a 5K was nothing for me. I was just, and that was when I was 60, because I had never run in my life before that, and I decided to run a half marathon when I was 60, and I did, and it wasn't that I got faster. It was simply that the rhythm of my breathing was good, the pace was decent, and it was only a 5K left. So let's go, finish it up, and it seemed easier.
Well, my brother always thought it was cool because, the fans along the way, they don't know my brother jumped in at the 6 mile mark. And so
it is important.
The cheering and the enthusiasm of the crowd, he goes, very intoxicating. It's great.
It was very helpful to have my son there along the way.
And when you get to the finish line, of course, his friend broke off and went to, because he had the bib. And you go over there. Non-bib people, you go over here. And so, but there was 100 yards.
Yeah.
And you could finish it there. But so
that's a cool memory for them, though.
Yeah.
It would be embarrassing if somebody had come into the race at the beginning and actually ended up beating out the winner.
Well,
without a bib.
Well, that's right. Was it Rosie Ruiz that took the subway?
Yes.
Yes. Do you remember that story?
No.
That goes way back. Oh my God, that must be the 80s.
Oh, I still think the better story is the first woman who had to sneak in.
Well, that's even funnier.
And she actually ran it, and they started chasing her down.
The picture of the guy.
You're a woman, you can't run this race.
That was the 70s. But Rosie Ruiz, started the race and then broke off, and she jumped on a subway car and went in and then jumped back into the race.
Genius.
And finished, came in first place, and gave her the little
maybe not genius,
the little halo thing that they give you, and the little medal. But
didn't even break a sweat, huh?
Well, that's it. I think that was, she doesn't really look tired. She's not sweating. Something's wrong, and they caught her. And so, you don't get the accolades anymore.
No, now they get to track you and find out.
But yet, I remember
distance.
John and I remember her name and know exactly who she is and what she did.
Oh yeah, it's one of those memorable things.
She's famous for that.
Absolutely.
It was Joan Benoit that tried to run in the marathon when women couldn't. I think it was her. Was it her?
That's a name I don't remember.
Joan Benoit Samuelson?
I just remember Rosie Ruiz.
All right. Yeah. Women couldn't run in the marathon.
And amazingly, I saw
as late as the 1970s.
I saw a chart of the nations represented in the Boston Marathon, and you know whose participation is so low it doesn't even show up on the chart among the first 10?
Not the United States.
Kenya.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
and yet they win every year.
We send over our 3 best, and
send the best,
that's
they
all.
win.
That's all we need. So, all right. Well, we have the jury, and we're ready to go in the
Lord. Karen
Reed case. They have 12 regular jurors and 6 alternates, and we're not starting until next week. This is what takes things so long. Why aren't we starting today? I don't get it. But anyway, that's what they do. The final motion hearing is being held today to address any final legal issues. This is actually yesterday. Today. Legal issues. Before opening statements will start next. In the trial testimony will start next week. So, okay. Sometimes they tell us what the makeup of the jury is. Last I knew, it was split perfectly, 8-8. And they were looking for 2 more. So I don't know who's part of the jury now, but we're ready to go.
All I care about is it's humans, and I don't care.
Yep. You don't care about the outcome? You don't care about
I don't care about any of it.
Anyway, okay.
I still don't like that they don't really talk about the person who's actually dead as much as they talk about Karen Reed being innocent. It makes you crazy.
It does.
John's been has it been 3 years?
2022.
22. So 3 years ago.
Just about.
Yeah.
All right.
It's just another driven by media situation. That's all.
And you're just going to hear more and more about it. So.
I'm actually more interested in who killed Jeffrey Epstein.
Okay.
Let's resurface that one.
Better yet, I'm more interested in. I know the Kennedy files were exposed and came out, but apparently there's so many pages they're still going through them to see if there's anything there. I'll be interested to see what they come up with, coming with the Bobby Kennedy files and the Martin Luther King files. And maybe even someday they'll release the Jeffrey Epstein files and
see who's on the list.
See who's on the list. See who visited the island.
That's right.
All of those wonderful things.
I don't know if you saw the pictures or the video of it. ICE went down to New Bedford to try to get a person, and they ended up smashing his car window to drag him out of the car. Did you not hear about this?
Oh.
Yeah, an illegal immigrant was arrested in New Bedford by federal agents. They had to smash the window of his car to access him. Juan Francisco Mendez was locked inside the car with his wife, waiting for his lawyer to arrive when he was arrested Monday on Tallman Street, New Bedford. Mendez has no criminal record. His wife says he has been seeking to address his illegal immigration status. Mendez's wife says he has called her seeking a lawyer's phone number, but she doesn't know where he is. So, and he wouldn't open up the car door, so they came in and got him.
Louisiana? Seems like that's where they should be. Or is it Mississippi or something like that?
I think it's Louisiana.
Somewhere near the Gulf of America.
But it makes news because they had to smash his car window to get him. They're so violent. So I guess she's not an illegal immigrant.
Well, no,
they didn't arrest her.
First thing you want to do is marry a citizen, right?
Well, then why are they taking him? He's married to her, so therefore you get to stay.
But maybe she's not a citizen. I don't know.
Well, they didn't say they arrested her, just him. So
I don't know.
I'm confused. So okay. Yeah, I know.
Another head scratching
I'm
story.
I'm going to get this into the last quarter of the show.
All right, we'll get to that.
Talk about the homeless law, for the homeless Bill of Rights expansion.
All right, we'll
That's
get to that.
driving me crazy.
We'll get to that when we come back. This segment of Coffee In, sponsored by Navigant Credit Union.
You manage your business, we'll manage your finances. With Navigant Credit Union's cash management services, you'll boost efficiency and enhance performance. From collections to disbursements, it's the expertise you didn't know you needed. Try Navigant Credit Union today. Federally insured by NCUA.
Krakow Deli Bakery Smokehouse offers authentic homemade Polish food to make your next meal special. Try our many varieties of hot and fresh pierogies with onions and what they call dirty sour cream. Or pick up golubki, kielbasa, babkas, or some fresh rye bread. We also offer a large selection of specialty and imported foods. Open Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, 9 in the morning till 6 p.m., Wednesdays, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturdays from 8 to 5 p.m. It's Krakow Deli Bakery Smokehouse. Follow us on Facebook and learn about our weekly specials. Located at 855 Social Street, Woonsocket, Krakow Deli Bakery Smokehouse has all the authentic Polish foods you love.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-230-2777. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-230-2777. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-230-2777. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-230-2777, 800-230-2777, or biglou.com.
Join the Alzheimer's Association Rhode Island chapter for our free Caregivers Journey and Research Conference, Thursday, April 17th at the Crown Plaza in Warwick. Numerous breakout sessions, opportunities to connect with statewide resources, and professional respite care will be provided. Registration is required. Register today online at alz.org/RI. That's alz.org/RI.
It is Coffee In here on ON Radio. Thanks for joining us. Joe Callahan here, along with Melissa Smith and John Ward. Tim Draper could not make it in today. And John wanted to bring this up, and it's got to do with there's a bill at the Senate, and it's to
And the House.
In the House, okay, to expand homeless Bill of Rights.
Bill of Rights, yeah. It's and I'm concerned only because it would specifically affect what's going on in Woonsocket with the problems with the encampments and the trash. And the thought that maybe they would be relocated to somewhere other than public property encampments if we open up a shelter. But when I read this bill, and there's a copy in the House and the Senate, it makes me a little bit crazy, and I need to bring it to the attention of our local council to see if they want to support this or not. But some of the things that it would add to the Homeless Bill of Rights that already exists to protect the rights of those who are living on the streets, expresses the right to access trash receptacles and toilet facilities in order that they can live in clean and sanitary conditions. I assume that would put the burden to provide that on the municipality that has the homeless encampment. I get that. We tried that down at the Court Street Bridge with a porta-john and a dumpster.
So it's up to the city to supply?
Well, it's implied if they're on city property, it would be up to the city to provide it.
Okay.
If they're on private property, the people can simply have them removed for trespassing.
Right,
So
right.
there's implication here that it must be a municipal situation.
Okay.
But they put a dumpster down at the Court Street Bridge, and all the trash still ended up on the ground. And then there's under another section with written policies, police departments would have to have a policy to cover this section. And then under a new section called encampments, it says prior to any enforcement action to relocate or vacate persons occupying an encampment located on public property, at least 60 days notice to vacate shall be provided to persons staying in the encampment. The notice shall be in writing, state the basis and authority for the action, which by just using those words, means that it can be taken to court and argued that the authority is not there and the basis is invalid, and apprise individuals how they may retrieve personal property left at the encampment in accordance with subsection C of this section. Where do we get there? Next section B, reasonable alternatives for relocating shall be made available to all persons occupying the encampment in collaboration with outreach workers prior to any enforcement action conducted pursuant to the provisions of subsection A of this section. The flaw here is, if you do not have alternatives for relocation, then does that disallow you from removing them from the encampment? I would say that they would take you to court and argue that you can't move them because you haven't provided them a place to go. And Section C says, except to address health or safety hazards, any personal property found on site shall be maintained by the enforcement agency for at least 30 days after the enforcement action has been completed, which means they have to now go out and contract for storage in order to secure these belongings in a safe place so that they're not lost or stolen, so that people can retrieve them. Now, here's my problem with this whole thing. It does not address whether or not these 60-day notifications must go to an individual. Homeless Bill of Rights does not specifically address what happens when a law enforcement agency wants to inspect a tent. Do they have to get a warrant? How specific does the warrant have to be? Does it have to describe the color of the tent, the shape of the tent? Suppose there's 4 blue tents.
Well, if you don't have an address, I guess you do.
There's no address. I don't even know how they would get a warrant to be able to go in there in order to do a search.
Yeah.
But let's say they can. All of it can be challenged in court. If they give you 60-day notice and there's 2 campsites or spaces next to you, and 10 days goes by in the 60-day notice, and another person moves in the tent next door to you, does your 60-day notice apply to the entire encampment, regardless of when you show up, or do they have to now come back with a separate notification, which gives them 60 days? And of course, nothing addresses how often somebody could do this, so that once they're removed from an encampment, if they don't particularly like the shelter they're in, can they simply move back onto the property? Now, right now, we're dealing with people in the woods and on the riverbanks, but there is nothing in the law that prevents somebody who's homeless from taking their tent, and I used the example before the show, in the green room. This room's not green. You should paint it green. What's to prevent somebody from taking a tent and putting it out in center field at Naplojoy Field? That is public property. Now, the police, you can't simply remove them. No, that's not trespassing. You have to give them, under this law, you have to give them 60-day notice. They can stay there for 60 days.
Play the baseball game around them.
And then they pick up after 59 days and they go to Hartnett Field.
Yeah,
and they put themselves in the middle of the outfield there. And they now have 60 days. There's nothing in that law that gives the right to a community, because it's public property, to remove that person without 60-day notice.
But in that scenario, the league, the baseball league, they would have the
how does their right supersede these rights?
What's the word I'm looking for?
How does their right to the permit, with the permit?
The permit. I have the permit to play a baseball game.
How does the permit
right
supersede the human rights of the people trying to make a living out of an encampment? It just happened to be on the public property that's an outfield
but
of the
they're not
baseball
trying to
field.
make a living. They're trying to just live.
How do you know?
Make a living.
Some of them go to work every day.
Well, all right. The permit trumps that.
How? There's nothing in here that specifies.
Well, not in that. So
you'd have to take them to court
while
they're living in the center field.
Has this bill passed the House and the Senate?
It's had a hearing in the Senate.
Okay.
See, this is where I get people think I'm weird. I actually tuned in and saw the hearing on the Senate Bill 797 that was being discussed, and of course everybody was only coming to talk in favor of it to expand the rights, such that in their mind encampments should be allowed to be a permanent fixture in every community if they had their way. But the fact is, nobody's really addressing the risks to the community for providing for these kinds of protections and what it does, because basically it would be making encampments permanent because you can't deny it. You have to give 60-day notice. I assume it's 60-day notice to each occupant, which means new ones can move in, that they get 60 days notice. So every time a new cycle of residents moves into an encampment, they have to get 60 days, which effectively makes the whole encampment concept a permanent concept. Because if you leave this encampment to comply with the 60-day notice at 58 days, you pick up your tent, you go, oh yeah, to another encampment.
That's right. Okay.
And now that's not the same address. So you got to get a new 60-day notice.
You following all this, Melissa?
This is what lawmakers do that they don't think about.
I know that we often, because we're in Woonsocket area, so we often talk about the homeless issue in Woonsocket. And before the show, we were talking about the fact that I was just down in D.C., where there's also a heavy presence of a homeless population. And you had started to talk a little bit about a porta potty setup that's, next to a dumpster and whatever. And I found it interesting. And I was just looking it up quickly to see what it was called. But in D.C., they had a similar setup, but it looked a little more glamorous, right? And I don't want to say it was called a throne on the outside of the building that I saw that was sort of positioned right in the middle of DuPont Circle, if you're familiar with DC. But when I was looking it up to find out what the name of it was, it's actually operated and managed by a company called Throne Labs, and they're designed specifically to be these like little modular setups. Right. A little more attractive than a porta potty and a dumpster. And I was just fascinated to learn that you actually, if you are homeless in the DC area, you're given like a little QR scan card that you can use that throne whenever you want to. It's also open to the general public. And the point of it is that you would download an app and you would scan in your QR code. And so they're tracking everybody who utilizes it. So if I'm homeless and I use it, and I leave a mess behind, or I in some way, shape, or form leave it in a state that's...
They know who you are.
They know who you are. And wow. X number of times that you're given a poor evaluation. So if I go in after you and you've made a mess and I'm scanning in for the first time and I rate the appearance of this space before I'm about to use it, it's flagging your card. And after multiple poor ratings, your access is denied and you can actually be fined or you can be arrested.
Wow.
And I thought about that. I'm like, wow.
It gives new meaning to the word Yelp.
We've talked in circles about how to remedy the homeless situation. Do you lean into it and provide them more services to remain on the streets and make it more accommodating, or do you revoke the privileges? Do you put in place new bills? And I wanted to share that as an example because that's very innovative in a time when maybe we're circulating some ideas that for $400,000, a grant they received, they put up 5 of these locations. Is that something else to add to your list, And I know you have more contacts in the city of Woonsocket than I do, and it's not that it's going hand in hand with what you're talking about, but I just thought I would throw that into the conversation as a recent experience.
I just get frustrated when I see these laws and I start thinking about what is it really, what can it possibly create? And, Dave mentioned the unintended consequences, and I follow. There's somebody that's got a YouTube channel that talks about unintended consequences, and they find laws that were passed, and then they say what the motivation for passing the law was, and then they talk about the disaster that occurred as a result of it and how it had to be undone. And this sounds like one of those things where I don't know if these people realize they are creating an environment that will encourage and provide protection for the permanent, unchangeable condition of homeless encampments in communities.
Mm-hmm. All right, Melissa, it's about 3 of, so I know you got to get going.
I leave at 5 of. I know. You didn't need to even say goodbye to me. I had planned to slip out the back, but then
we wanted to say goodbye.
We started this conversation. I'll see you guys on Saturday.
See you on Saturday at the Senior
and for
Resource
those that
Fair.
were listening that want to stop by the Caregiver Journey Conference, I'll see you tomorrow.
All right, you have a great day.
Thank you. You guys too.
All righty. All right, John, on a more...
Have a good day, Melissa.
On another note...
Junk news.
Wink Martindale has passed away.
Oh, no.
Yes. He was 91. Melissa has no idea who Wink Martindale is. Former game show host Wink Martindale passed away in 91. He's got an all-time famous blooper when he hosted Tic Tac Doe. I used to watch that as a kid.
I did watch Tic Tac Doe.
Okay. I don't know if you know this one.
I don't.
I don't know why they just didn't stop recording and, okay, Wink, we're going to do it again. Because whatever the question was, Wink's reading it wrong. And he's like, and it came up, it's like, and he's trying to say, he goes, orange gatan. He goes, I don't know what that is. And he's like, he goes, "What's an orange guitan?" And the announcer comes over the PA basically, wink, that's orangutan. You know, like the monkey. Oh.
Well, because there
Look
was
it up
no
online.
because
It's
there was
so
no
funny.
vulgarity
No,
involved.
there isn't
Maybe
any.
they just thought we'll leave it in because it's
It
so
is.
funny.
It is funny, and the studio audience is laughing. What's an orange guitan?
Orange guitan.
Then, you know, you can't know everything, right?
I was thinking the guy on Saturday Night Live. What's his name? Chris Kattan?
Yes. Okay.
Who does the monkey?
All right. You wanted to know Harvey Weinstein's jury selection is underway.
Oh, boy.
So it is moving forward. All right. Jury selection starts today in the retrial of former movie producer Harvey Weinstein, and that takes place in New York City.
Is he still walking around, or does he still require a walker?
Well,
struggling?
that I don't know.
Oh, was that just for show? I never know with him.
I'm not sure. So there you go.
Trying to become a victim.
And let's see, what anything else? If you plan on flying this summer, United Airlines planning to cut flights this summer as domestic travel demand is falling. The Chicago-based carrier said today it plans to trim domestic capacity by about 4% starting in the third quarter. Okay, that's the fall. For the first quarter, United posted a $387 million profit, while projecting strong demand for premium cabin bookings and international travel. Unit revenue for domestic flights fell nearly 4% from last year during the first quarter. So they plan to cut it down because we cannot fly unless the plane is completely full. It's a rule.
I have to wonder how much of that is simply economic uncertainty.
It probably is. So
because there's a lot of that going on right now.
Oh, okay. Well, we gotta run.
So it's not a fear of flying. It's just it's just a fear of doing anything.
Lack of consumers. Okay.
Nobody move until we figure out what's going on.
We thank you for listening in, everyone. We appreciate it. Our thanks to Melissa Smith, who joined us, and we hope Tim Draper can be with us next week. John, thanks for coming in.
And my pleasure. And let me see, it's going to be cloudy all day and a little cool, but I can say officially I think spring is finally here.
All right.
That's in a comfortable way, so go out and enjoy the God-given day.
Very good. Thanks, John. Remember, there is no Do You Remember program today. Gary's a little under the weather. We're hoping Gary can be back on Friday.
Broadcasting live and local daily from the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Avenue and Kennedy Street. This is WOON Woonsocket Radio. And now, the news.
NBC News Radio, I'm Michael Kastner. President Trump, in an interview with a Fox News host, says his administration is looking for ways to put U.S. citizens convicted of violent crimes in foreign prisons.
Could we use it for violent criminals, our own violent criminals?
I call them homegrown criminals.
Yes.
I mean, the
homegrowns.
The ones that grew up and something went wrong and they hit people over the head with a baseball bat. We have, and push people into subways just before the train gets there, like you see happening sometimes. We are looking into it and we want to do it. I would love to.